everybody, it is me, One Films here. Welcome back to the channel. It is so great to see you all again. And today I am going to be ranking the 28 MCU films from my favorite to my least favorite in a tier ranking. And before we get into this video, this is going to be my first tier ranking ever. And this will also lead directly to my new YouTube channel that's coming out soon. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, let's get started with the ranking.
Okay, so in case you guys didn't know what a tier list looks like, here it is. So basically, you know, the highest tier is the best of the best, and the lowest tier is the worst of the worst. And it goes from, like, you know, awesome, great, good, okay, mediocre, bad, you know, whatever. But I just have, you know, just 5 levels. Obviously, the top level are like my top 5 favorites. Second is the great and stuff that I admire a lot. The middle one is just good. I like them enough. Okay is that, you know, I don't like them as much, but they're alright. They're not good nor bad. And then these are just the bad ones, so yeah. So today I'm gonna be ranking, you know, the MCU films, because in case you guys didn't know, I love the MCU. I have a bunch of MCU merch, so yeah, I think this would be a good time to rank the 28 MCU films that have been released. So let's get started with Iron Man. Now, Iron Man basically started the entire MCU, in case y'all didn't know. And I could definitely say, like, the first time I watched it, I really enjoyed it. I think Robert Downey Jr. does a fantastic Tony Stark. And I really like, you know, Jon Favreau's direction in this movie. So, and I just think overall this is a great start to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this would have been top 5 for me, but I like some of the other films better, so I'm definitely putting this in the grade. Alright, so from what it turned out to be one of the best MCU films, well, yeah, top 10 for sure for me, to one of the absolute worst. The Incredible Hulk. I know a lot of people really like this movie, and that's understandable, but this movie has a lot of flaws. I didn't really enjoy the story. I didn't really enjoy Edward Norton as the Hulk. Yes, I'm definitely going to defend Mark Ruffalo on this, because I do think Mark Ruffalo was made to be Hulk, not Edward Norton. The only scene that I think was good was the final battle between Hulk and Abomination. I did not like how they literally put, you know, the scene where Bruce Banner turned into Hulk as like the opening like credit sequence. So that's what I didn't like. And the story was just super flawed. It didn't move me, or I just didn't feel like it went anywhere. So yeah, honestly, it's a pretty bad movie. I'm sorry, y'all. I just think it's bad. Alright, Iron Man 2. Now, I don't think Iron Man 2 is as great as the first Iron Man. I know a lot of people hate this movie. I know a lot of people would probably put this in the bad and awful category. Now, don't get me wrong. This film has a lot of flaws, obviously. You know, I don't think it went anywhere on the story level, like with The Incredible Hulk. Obviously, the Whiplash, yeah, played by Mickey Rourke. I didn't really like him as the villain, and I do think that it was good how it went from the first Iron Man, but at the same time, I just didn't feel like it went anywhere that much. So yeah, honestly, it's an okay movie. I would put it in the good/decent category, but there are way better films than Iron Man 2. Alright, so next up we have is the first Thor. Alright, now, I thought it was a good origin story. I think Kenneth Branagh directed this movie very well, especially since he's known for, you know, directing all these Shakespearean and like historian type movies. So I thought he was the best choice to direct this movie. But at the same time, it's like, you know, it doesn't really feel like a Marvel superhero movie. It's basically what it feels like, a Kenneth Branagh type of historian Shakespearean type of story. And I I didn't really like Loki in this one because it was just like, he's kind of like a Two-Face type of character, obviously. But, I just feel like that his Two-Face type of character was just extremely noticeable in this film. But at the same time, I kind of had fun with it. There were a bunch of great scenes, especially the one when Thor came to Earth from Asgard. That's what I like. But I just feel like it was more of like a road trip and historian type of movie than like an actual good superhero. It was a bit of fun. I'll put this in okay. I don't think it's that great. Alright, now we have Captain America: The First Avenger. Yes, I'm not gonna lie. I think Captain America has the best trilogy of the entire MCU franchise. But honestly, I think the first film, although I think it's a solid story, and it has some solid actions as well, and I really like Red Skull as a villain, I do think this is the weakest of the trilogy, but in my opinion, this has the strongest like origin story of the early MCU films besides Iron Man. So, but at the same time, I feel like they use too many elements when it comes to the World War II plot line, and I don't think they executed Steve Rogers turning into this big buffy guy too well. So, but honestly, there are a lot of great moments. I really like the casting there. We have Chris Evans, Sebastian Stan, Tommy Lee Jones was casted perfectly, and Hugo Weaving was Red Skull in this one, so that was pretty awesome. I think Hugo Weaving's an underrated actor in my opinion because he also played Agent Smith in the Matrix film. So I think this is a good movie. It's enjoyable. Alright, The First Avengers. Yes. After 5 movies, four superheroes that had an origin story, one was a sequel. We finally got a movie in which we united the Avengers for the very first time, and we also included Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. This is literally the ultimate team movie of the 21st century. I think this is the first amazing team up movie in my opinion. The first team up movie that I feel like influenced my entire life. So yeah, honestly, top 5. I love the Avengers. Every single time I watch it, I love it even more. Alright, now we come to Iron Man 3. And, despite its flaws, its many flaws for sure, I can definitely say that, I'm not going to defend this one as a whole because it is pretty much Tony Stark giving up being Iron Man throughout the entire film, and then him being held in some prison, and then we have Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin. So yeah, but there were a lot of fantastic scenes, like the airplane scene in which all the people fell out of the airplane, and then Iron Man took his time to save them and everything. They all got together and everything. And as well as the final battle in which Iron Man united all of his robot creations, and then we have Pepper Potts turning to a firewoman, just trying to destroy Guy Pearce's villain character. So that was actually pretty nice. So I mean, it has a lot of plots, a lot of plot flaws with Tony Stark and everything, but at the same time it has a lot of really good scenes as well. So yeah, for that I think it's decent. I would put it in the okay category just because of the flaws, but it's pretty decent to me. So yeah, I'm gonna defend it right there. All right, next up is Thor: The Dark World, and I agree with the many people who have a saying in Thor: The Dark World. It is obviously the worst MCU film of all time. And it's probably the most forgettable of the MCU films. I did put The Incredible Hulk below Thor: The Dark World, but I just now realize how forgettable Thor: The Dark World is. And, nobody remembers the movie in its entirety. For me, every single time I watch this movie, I just forget it right in a heartbeat. The only scene I remember is the beginning scene in which Thor was fighting all these monsters. That's about it. But other than that, I didn't really like the villain. He was a sucky villain. I never liked Jane Foster in this one. I am sorry, but I'm afraid about Thor: Love and Thunder coming out because of Jane Foster coming back. So, yeah. And I've never liked, Jane Foster and Thor: The Dark World. So yeah, it's not that good. Alright, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I was a bit skeptical when I first watched this movie because I thought, some parts of Captain America: The First Avenger was pretty weak, and I just didn't think it was gonna move well with the rest of the Captain America franchise and all that. But this movie surprised me by a lot. They really brought back Bucky into the modern day world, and obviously, Alexander Pierce, played by Robert Redford, and the rest of his team are like controlling him and everything, and obviously Steve Rogers is trying to make him a good guy. And I know like some parts of this movie just became a little too political for a certain group of people, but I had a lot of fun with it. I really enjoy, the plot of this film, and I enjoy, Captain America a lot more in this one than he did in the first Avenger. So, yeah. Honestly, this is a great movie. This is great. Okay, Guardians of the Galaxy. I've always been excited when I first heard that they're going to release Guardians of the Galaxy. And because they brought an amazing cast. We have Chris Pratt as Peter Quill, Zoe Saldana as Gamora, Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon has to be the funniest thing ever. So I just thought that it was a good idea for, the Marvel comic world to bring a group of prisoners and outlaws to join together and to become a team and save the galaxy. And there were some funny moments, there were some great action scenes, but overall, every single time I watch Guardians of the Galaxy, I always have fun. So this is probably the funnest MCU film that I've ever seen, and it's definitely one of the best, so top 5 for sure. I love Guardians of the Galaxy. Alright, next up is Avengers: Age of Ultron. And this is a very tricky one because it is a very, divisive or decisive one. Because I know there's a group of people that love it, or at least like it, and there's another group of people that either don't like it, or they just completely hate it. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the first time I watched it, I really enjoyed it, but the second time I watched it, I got bored. I don't think it's god-awful. There were some fantastic action sequences, but on a story level, it just didn't really move me. I think they killed off Quicksilver way too quick. I think he's a very wasted character in the entire MCU. And honestly, I don't think, the Avengers in this one, they were way less likable than they were in the first one. So, yeah. But just because it has some pretty good action sequences, I'm just going to put this one in the okay category. I kind of like it a bit more than Thor, but I don't like it as much as Iron Man 2. I know a lot of people would put this one over Iron Man 2, but I like Iron Man 2 a bit more. Alright, next up we have is Ant-Man. Ant-Man, I had a lot of fun with. Now, I don't think that this is like, an MCU type of movie, because obviously it is about, a prisoner trying to become a good guy type of story. Trying to save the world, trying to, protect his daughter from Yellow Jacket at the end of the movie. And, I thought the fight sequence in that was a little bit weird, but it was my type of weird. So, yeah, honestly, I'm gonna put this one in the decent category. I kind of like it a bit more than Captain America: The First Avenger. So, yeah, this will definitely be up there. And it is worth mentioning that, I think Paul Rudd overall was a fantastic choice to play Scott Lang. I think he just stole the show. And honestly, I think Michael Douglas in this one was perfect casting. So I'll definitely defend it. Alright, Captain America: Civil War. And this is guaranteed for sure that it is top 5. Do I like it more? Yeah, I do. Yep, this is top 5 for sure. I love Captain America: Civil War. And it's because, I just think that the division between Captain America and Iron Man, two great friends, two superheroes that have saved the universe a bunch of different times in the past, they just, divide from each other because how they feel towards Bucky, Steve Rogers wants to save Bucky and wants to team up with Rocky because he thinks that, Bucky is a good guy overall and that he's being controlled by Hydra, and Tony Stark wants to kill Bucky because he killed Tony's parents and all that. But, Bucky didn't even mean to kill Tony's parents overall. I'm obviously on Team Cap on this side. Comment down below which side that you prefer to be on Captain America's side or Iron Man's side. I love both superheroes, but I'm kind of Captain America's side on this one because of, his message and everything. So, yeah. But overall, I think this is top 5 for sure. And the airplane sequence is fantastic. And it is worth mentioning that this introduces us to Spider-Man and Black Panther in the MCU. Okay, Doctor Strange. Now, Doctor Strange was a pretty unique one because at the same time, it doesn't have that good of a story. Like, I think the story of Doctor Strange is a bit forgettable. But at the same time, I really enjoyed the visual effects in this one. I think this has some of the most unique visual effects of all time, of like any, sci-fi superhero film. And I think Tilda Swinton was fantastic in this one. I cannot believe she was not in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And that's pretty understandable. And I think Mads Mikkelsen's villain was a bit forgettable. So, yeah, honestly, I would put this in the okay category, but I enjoyed the visual effects in this one. So, yeah, I just think it's decent. It's decent. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, this is a tricky one because as a whole, as a team-up movie, I feel like this is not that good of a team-up movie. Obviously, I had a lot of fun with the characters, but I didn't like it when they were divided, because they had a whole bunch of different plot lines that I just did not get whatsoever. And I don't think that Kurt Russell as Ego was good. Because it just turned from like this happy family superhero team up movie to like a very depressing type of family. That's how I felt about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I know everyone's reactions with this movie is a lot different, but overall I had a lot of fun with, but it's not one that I like to rewatch all that often. So honestly, it's okay. It's not great, it's not groundbreaking or anything, it's just okay. Alright, now we come to Spider-Man Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming was a unique one, because this literally took place after Captain America's Civil War, the film in which he was introduced. And obviously, I love the fact that they brought Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark in this project, because he's pretty much a mentor to this young high schooler who is now becoming a superhero, especially after the events of Civil War. And it just shows how much, Spider-Man admires Iron Man and everything, especially since they were buddy-buddy together in the movie, like I mentioned. And it also just, shows the fact that, you can be a superhero and also still go to school at the same time. I know that's for, like, every Spider-Man movie, or, like, pretty much every teenage superhero movie. And I'm actually gonna put this in a great category. And also because I think Michael Keaton as the Vulture was fantastic, because he's not really trying to be a villain per se. He's just trying to be a good dad, trying to support his family, trying to support his daughter, and not see any red flags around people. So, yeah. And also, I think Tom Holland just shows that, the troubles of, like, being a high schooler and everything at the same time. Okay, Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok was a lot of fun. And I remember the first time I watched this in the theaters, I thought it was a bit weird, but the second time I watched it, I had a whole lot of fun. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a fantastic idea that they brought Hulk. They brought Mark Ruffalo's Hulk in this movie, and a lot of people love it because of the battle between Hulk and Thor, the two strongest MCU superheroes, my bad, of all time. And I think Kate Blanchett as Hela was actually pretty good. She was actually pretty decent. And then Taika Waititi's direction, top notch. And I'm so glad he's directing Thor Love and Thunder, but at the same time, it is called Love and Thunder. And I was never a fan of Jane Foster in Thor The Dark World, so I'm a little bit scared, but at the same time, I'm a bit excited. So obviously, Thor Ragnarok, it had a lot of action and it had a lot of potential, and it succeeded by a mile. And obviously it had a pretty emotional ending to it, but at the same time it was so fun. I really enjoyed it. I think it's great. Yeah, I have to put this above Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Spider-Man. I just think it's great. Alright, now we come to Black Panther. I did put this one in my top 5 back before I kind of dropped it down below, just because I enjoy some of these movies a lot more than Black Panther, but at the same time, I love Black Panther. I think this has one of the absolute best stories in any superhero movie of all time. And I really enjoyed the opening of the movie as well, since it does talk about, Los Angeles in like the 90s and everything. And I love Chadwick Boseman, R.I.P., as Prince T'Challa, Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger. Whew! One of the best villains I've seen in an MCU movie. And, Andy Serkis was also cast in this movie, so yeah. And I just think that this is a fantastic coming-of-age story, a story about royalty, superheroes, and just everything in between. So this is great. I think Black Panther is a great movie. Avengers Infinity War. Oh yeah, top 5 for sure. I think this is just a phenomenal team-up movie in which the MCU finally united all the superheroes in the entire MCU all in one movie, and they all had their own different plot lines and everything, and it all worked. And let's be real, I think Thanos winning in the end of the movie is probably one of the best endings I've ever seen, and it's definitely one of the most emotional. Alright, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Now, I know a lot of people despise Ant-Man and the Wasp, but I totally get that. It's not like, an MCU type of movie. It's just more of like a road trip type movie starring Lawrence Fishburne, Michael Douglas, and Paul Rudd. But, at the same time, it was enjoyable enough. But I did not like, Wasp in this one just because I just didn't feel like she was perfectly casted. But Paul Rudd was funny as ever in this one. So I think it's good. It's decent. It's decent. Alright, now we come to Captain Marvel. Now, a lot of people have put this in the bad and awful category. And I totally understand that. I'm not going to defend it as this fantastic movie either. But, I thought it was nice that it took back to, like a 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s type of style. We got to see Blockbuster. Gusta Cat was fantastic. I thought it was great seeing a young Samuel L. Jackson as a young Nick Fury. And overall, but like the other characters that weren't really introduced in the MCU before, they were not that great. So, it had a lot of, flaws and everything, but I just think it's okay. Just because I kind of like some of the elements here and there, so yeah. I'm sorry, I kind of like it more than Avengers Age of Ultron. I don't hate it like that. I really don't. It just has a lot of flaws, and, it's not that good. Yeah. Alright, Avengers Endgame. Y'all know. Best movie of all time. Obviously, it did have a slow start from, like, the time traveling sequences and then reintroducing the characters, especially after Thanos' win. It did take place 5 years after the events of Infinity War. And yeah, it was a slow start. But at the same time, the last hour of the movie is literally the best part of any film that I've ever seen in my life. Like, the best experience I have ever been through while watching the movie. That's how much I love Avengers Endgame. Man, fantastic film. Alright, Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, that's a pretty interesting one, because it is a high school road trip movie, while at the same time, a superhero movie. I know it's kind of like that for Homecoming, but it's not like, it was traveling all over the world. It was just, some parts of New York. So, obviously, I don't think that it is as good as Homecoming. I do think that it is a nice pace from Avengers Endgame, especially since it took place after the events of Endgame, and Peter Parker is trying to get over the events of Tony Stark dying and everything, and him being a solo Avenger, while also, dealing with his love life and, dealing with high school all at the same time. Like, it's a pretty relatable movie, but I can not say that this is all great. There were definitely a lot of flaws here and there based on the story and plot level, but I do think that Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio is fantastic. But, so overall, it's decent. It's decent enough. I'll put it right here. Yeah, that's a good place for Far From Home. It's decent enough. Alright, Black Widow. Now, Black Widow, I kind of have a soft spot for it. I know a lot of people didn't enjoy it as much as others, but at the same time, I really enjoyed the origin story, even though the movie is literally 5 years too late. It literally took place after, or like around the events of Captain America's Civil War. But I think it was nice that we get to see, Natasha Romanoff's backstory, and we get to introduce her family. I thought Florence Pugh was a scene stealer. So, but at the same time, I didn't really like the villain. I thought the villain had a lot of flaws. I don't think he was written properly. and he was a very misunderstood type of person. But overall, the action was fantastic. I really enjoyed the other characters in it, so yeah, I'll put it right here. Yeah, that's a good place for a blend. Alright, now we're in the final four MCU movies. So, first up is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Yo, I'm not gonna lie, this movie surprised me a whole lot. And for good reasons, because I just didn't know how to react after watching this movie. Obviously, there were a whole bunch of, like, you know, past MCU jokes and all that. And I do think Aquafina was annoying at the same time, but they really brought back Mandarin, and he just became a fantastic character in this one. And honestly, I really like Shang-Chi. Like, so many of the action sequences were fantastic. The villain was his own father, but his own father had like his own plot into this superhero movie and his own backstory as well, which is something that I really enjoy from time to time. And because of that, I think this is overall a great movie. I really enjoy Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I don't think it's as great as the rest of the other 5 MCU movies that's up there right now, but I do think it's great. Alright, now we have Eternals. Yeah, I knew from the very beginning that this was going to be a pretty overhyped type of movie, and it is still kind of overhyped to this day. I think Chloe Zhao is an overrated director, especially after her winning Best Picture and Best Director for Nomadland, which is one of the most overrated movies I have ever seen in my life. And Eternals is basically the same thing. I think they put a whole lot of characters in this one movie. It should have been an MCU show instead of just an MCU movie. So, and overall, I just feel like this movie was just rushed from beginning to end. So, yeah, it's okay. I've never really enjoyed it. I've never seemed to enjoy it. Alright, now we have Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, I'll be real honest, I would have put this in my top 5, but the first part of the movie was a bit sloppy and forgettable. I feel like they rushed, the scene after, literally right after the end of Far From Home, in which Peter Parker was outed as Spider-Man. And, they're trying to rush to get back to his, apartment, back to seeing his aunt and all that with MJ and everything. And also, to these unfortunate series of events that I just felt like were a bit rushed. But what saved this movie is, literally the final, the last 2/3 of the movie, which I thought were fantastic in their own ways. We finally got to see all 3 Spider-Man, all theatrically released live-action Spider-Man in one movie, which is fantastic. And by the way, Tobey Maguire for the win. Tobey Maguire is the best Spider-Man. And I am so glad they really brought him back in this project. So, overall, this is a great movie. I love No Way Home. Alright, now we come to the final film, which is our recent film, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I'm not gonna lie, I should have waited until Thor Love and Thunder, but this is so good. So, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I saw this one in the theaters. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I put this one below the first Doctor Strange because I feel like it had a lot of too much of Sam Raimi's elements in this one rather than MCU. But at the same time, it was a little crazy and I had fun with it. I had fun with crazy and everything. But there were a few flaws here and there. I feel like they utilized Wanda's character a little bit too much. And just to be clear, that this is not a cameo heavy type of movie, in case y'all have not yet seen this one. But there were a good number of cameos here and there, which I thoroughly enjoyed and I was surprised by. But in the end, I think this is definitely the goriest MCU film of all time because it is directed by Sam Raimi, and he's known for, directing the Evil Dead movies besides, directing the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films. But, it was fun. It was enjoyable. I'll put this in the decent category. Yeah, I'll put it right here. Yeah. I'm actually going to defend Multiverse of Madness over the first Doctor Strange now because of the madness in this world. So yeah, this is my ranking of all the MCU films. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!